Yo, I'm Brendan. Do you know what's insane? Investors are failing at our main goal. We spend tons of energy trying to optimize our money and trying to get really good returns and make our money grow. And I'd be willing to bet that 90% or maybe more of us are failing at that goal because we aren't using this account, this one that I'm talking about today. Taxable brokerage account, it's not even in the optimization category compared to this one. 401k, mediocre at best. Even the Roth IRA, the crowd favorite, the people's champion, it's not even holding a candle compared to this most optimized investing account for Americans. Today, I'll share with you why this account is so amazing and why somehow people still don't want to use it. All right, enough teasing. What is this thing? This absurdly amazing account is called a health savings account, or an HSA. You may have heard of it before, but really getting a grasp on why it's incredible, it's going to take about 5 minutes here, so hang with me. Overall, the reason it's so powerful and why it's so amazing is it saves us more money in taxes than any other kind of investing account, but it's not as easy to access as a normal investing account like a taxable brokerage or whatever else. The reason that we want to save money in taxes is then we get to keep more of the money. You know, it's like whenever you make yourself breakfast in the morning and you're getting all excited about what you're making, thinking that you're going to enjoy it, and then your kids come over and want to eat half of it. And you're like, guys, I planned on having all of this. Why are you taking a piece of it away? That's what the government does with our tax money. I understand we need to do it. We also need to feed our kids, but I would rather keep all of the money or as much of the money as possible to myself so that it grows as much as possible so that then my future self can benefit. And that's really what an HSA lets us do. The crazy thing about it, how it sets itself apart from every other kind of investing account, is that it has a triple tax advantage. So something like a taxable brokerage account doesn't have a tax advantage in the same way that this one does at all. You don't save any money on taxes whenever you put the money in. You don't save any money on taxes whenever it's growing. And you don't really save any money on taxes whenever you're withdrawing it. So taxable brokerage account is out of the running. Even something like a Roth IRA doesn't have this same kind of benefit because it only gets 2 out of 3 of those kind of tax advantages. The health savings account is totally tax advantaged whenever you put the money in. So that means your contribution, the government basically says, no, it didn't exist. You didn't even make that money. We're not even going to see that you made that. So whatever money goes in there, you're not taxed on it. That's amazing. Then when the money that's in the account grows over time, hopefully it grows because you can invest the money in an HSA. So as it's growing over time, you don't pay any taxes on the growth. Just because you put in a small amount today and maybe 30 years from now, you pull out a huge amount, you don't get taxed on that growth. This is huge. This is kind of like what a Roth IRA does, but it doesn't save you in that first way. Then, whenever you withdraw the money from an HSA, it's also not taxed. You can't say that about your traditional IRA or your traditional 401k. Those accounts, even though they save money in the beginning, you get hit with taxes at the end. And so a lot of people are afraid of that because they're going, oh man, taxes are going up in the future. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't like that. So no matter what your beliefs are, the HSA saves you money beginning, middle, and end. It's crazy. The more money we have and keep, the faster it grows, the more we have in the end. Everything is better this way. So how do we use this account? Well, unfortunately, you can't just pop open your phone and go to M1 Finance or Acorns or Fennel or Robinhood or whoever and just say, hey, give me an HSA, please. Boom, open new account. Put money in it. Boom, done. It's not that easy. An HSA, because it's health related, a health savings account, is actually tied into your insurance plan. And so you only qualify for using an HSA if you're already a part of a high deductible health plan. How do you know if you're using a high deductible health plan? Well, right now, the limits for your health plan's annual deductible can't be less than $1,600 a year for an individual plan or $3,200 a year for a family plan. So right away, if you can look up what your deductible is and it's less than that, it's not eligible. You can't use it. Typically, that's really clear though. You shouldn't have to do a lot of homework on this because in my experience with my own company, with my wife's company that she works for, whenever I've seen this used in the past, you can go 2 different directions whenever you choose your insurance. You can go the more traditional road, which is often called a PPO, and that will have a low deductible. So what that means is that odds are you're not going to be out of pocket a whole ton of money. The other way you can go is this high deductible health plan route, and typically people talk about the HSA when they're talking about the HDHP. So it might seem kind of confusing initially as I'm using these different like acronyms, but the HSA and the high deductible health plan are kind of married together, if you will. They're intended to be used together. And one of the really cool benefits of using an HDHP, a high deductible health plan, is that sometimes your company will actually contribute money to the HSA for you. So you might have heard of like an investment match whenever you go with a 401k at work. Oh, you put in 3%, your employer puts in 3%, they've matched you, you get a 100% match right away. It's like 100% growth, basically. It's amazing. You've doubled your money. Well, with my wife's company, for example, they say, if you're using the high deductible health plan, then we will put in X dollars per month for you. I forget what it is, $200 a month or something like that. They will just contribute in the form of a contribution into your account. So even if all you do is pay for the insurance and do nothing else, they're still putting money in the account for you, if your company is situated that way. Then on top of that, you can also contribute money into it yourself. So you can say, hey, I want to put in $200 a month or $400 a month or whatever you want to contribute into the account and use it like a health savings account. There is one other limit though that we need to talk about, because even though it's really exciting to be able to contribute money into it, have it be tax deferred money we're putting in there, tax deferred growth, you don't get taxed on it when you pull it out. All that's amazing. It seems really tempting to be like, well, we're going to stop using any other investing account then. We're going to put it all into the HSA. Technically, there are contribution limits to it. So it's kind of like an IRA, how it has a contribution limit. An HSA has a contribution limit. So for 2024, if you're an individual, you can't put in more than $4,150 yourself, $4,150. For families, that limit is $8,300 per year. But there's two more critical things that you need to know about this account and why it's so awesome for you and how it's different than some other accounts. For example, number one, we had some friends that back in the day had an FSA. Not an HSA. F is in Frank. And that's a flexible savings account. There was a huge difference between that and our HSA, because as we were talking to them, we found out the money that they saved into this FSA every year expired. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so it was really like a catch-22 with that, because you want to put money into the account because maybe you need to spend it, but then if you don't end up using it, then you lose the money. This is not the case with an HSA. The amazing thing is you can put in up to $8,300 per year into the account, and then it just rolls over the next year. It's a savings account like a traditional savings account is, in that you put the money in it, it goes in there, hopefully it grows over time, and you keep it. Year after year after year, you're accumulating more and more money, unless you're spending money out of the account with the little debit card they get you, but otherwise it's yours. Well, I also didn't mention that. Whenever you actually want to use the money in this account, the way my wife and I's account is set up is you actually have like a dedicated little debit card to use with the account. So whenever you go to pay for the prescription, or whenever you get the medical bill in the mail and you're going to pay for it, you can use the card number on the back just like you would use any other card number, and it comes directly out of your HSA. I've also heard if you don't end up using that card at the moment that you're actually paying for something, you can come back later and like save your receipts and kind of get credits for it if you want to do it that way. But for us, we're kind of trying to keep as much money in that HSA account as possible so that it grows over time. And so if we forget to use the card and we pay for it in a different way, then we don't go back and reconcile and withdraw out of that account. But that's an option for you, depending on how you want to do it. And feature number two that I just hinted at, but I haven't totally explained, is that it's not just a savings account. Yeah, the name is health savings account, but it's not like a bank savings account where the money just goes in there and takes a nap and it's just lazily growing almost at zero pace whatsoever. Oh, no. You can actually invest the money in an HSA into something like the stock market. And then if the stock market performs well, this money that you've saved for future expenses, potentially saved for future retirement, that's growing over time with the stock market. So that's really amazing. Don't get tripped up by the name. It's not just a savings account. But there's been a glaring hole in this discussion this whole time. Something that hasn't made sense this entire video. You're probably sitting there going, Brendan, what's going on? You're shaking me in the shoulders. Why are you not telling us how to use this for retirement instead of health expenses? It's called an HSA. It's attached to your insurance plan. How is this a retirement account? How could this potentially save us in the future? Because this is just like, it's a place for you to withdraw money from whenever you've got medical expenses, right? Au contraire. Yes, it's true that the withdrawals you take out of the account are tax-free as long as they are used for qualified medical expenses. That's one of the caveats of our tax savings here, of our tax advantage that we're trying to do. So it seems like if you're not using it for a qualified medical expense, you'd be giving up that tax benefit, right? What if I want to buy a new axe or perhaps a burrito and race car with the money I have in my HSA? Is that possible? Yes, it is. First of all, you can do that if you're at 65 or older. You can take the money out of the HSA for literally any reason. Build yourself a race car in the shape of a burrito. Fly to Belgium and drive at Spa-Francorchamps and have a wonderful time. Spend money out of the HSA. Who cares? It's your money. Do whatever you want. But since those wouldn't be medical bills, you would just pay regular income tax on that money. It would be like income from any other income. You're going to pay income tax on it. And even before then, it's not like the money is actually locked away. You can't access it. It's impenetrable. That's not the way it is. If you need the money for some reason that's not medical related, let's say you've really contributed to it really, really hard, you've got a lot of money in there, and then something crazy happens where you need a bunch of money for some reason, you can get it out. You'll just also have to pay a 20% penalty on top of the money. So that really stinks. I don't think it's totally optimal to do that or to even plan on that being a potential for you, but it's an option. It technically exists. You can touch the money if you have to. But now I've got two more things to share with you. Number one, why people don't use this account, even though it's incredible, even with the amazing triple tax advantage. And number two, what's the big mistake that my wife and I made whenever we use this account? And apparently, most people are making this mistake whenever they're using this account. You don't want to be doing this. So first, why don't people use this, even though it's incredible? Well, in contrast to this, most people make a more common choice, a simpler choice. They use a taxable brokerage account. It's very easy to get in and out of. There's not really any rules to think about. You can open one in some investing app in a few minutes. Even though it doesn't have real tax benefits, it's the simplest, fastest way to invest. Then people jump into a traditional IRA or into a 401k because their contributions are tax deferred. And so you're like, hey, this is really cool. I'm saving some money on my taxes this year. Maybe I get an employer match on the 401k. It's all very well and good. It's a decent choice. And a lot of people pick a Roth IRA because A, it's talked about a lot more than an HSA, and B, people talk about the 2 out of 3 tax advantages you get because the growth and withdrawals are tax-free, so it seems really appealing. Hey, I just get taxed on it once, it's not a big deal, then the rest of all time, it grows tax-free. Hopefully it's growing because it's invested. Hopefully you're investing it well and the stock market's doing well. All that growth then is tax-free. It's amazing. An HSA has all the tax benefits of your 401k and all the tax benefits of your Roth IRA rolled into one. I think the fact that it's married together with a particular kind of insurance account scares people off. I think it feels weird to go, oh, well, can I still use this money? Do I still have insurance? Am I getting any benefit whatsoever? My deductible's super high now, and it's like $8,000 instead of $2,000. That's really scary. And they just don't like the feeling of going, oh man, I've got a higher out-of-pocket maximum. I've probably got higher deductibles. I've got a little bit more thinking on my part because now I've got to decide, do I use the HSA? Do I not? There's just more decision-making involved. Where with the PPO, you probably have a nice low deductible. Your out-of-pocket maximum is probably pretty low. Yeah, you're paying more in terms of a monthly premium to actually access it. And the lower monthly premium of the high deductible health plan sounds nice, but I think people are just scared away by that potential maximum and the potential complexity of it all. My wife and I have been using these off and on for years. The way that we actually put this into place in our own life is we said, look, we're a married couple. We're both fortunate enough to be healthy. We don't have many medical expenses whatsoever. I mean, we have essentially none unless something crazy happens. So let's go in this direction of the HSA. So we opened one, we used it for a few years, and then we said, hold on, we're going to have kids. Having kids in America is very expensive. It's not like in England where somebody pays, $100 and they have a baby or whatever. We do not have universal health care here. People get 5-figure bills for having children. Let's get out of the high deductible health plan and get into a different health plan that's got a much lower deductible, into a PPO. And so for the few years that we had our kids, we said, let's go ahead and get back into this more kind of traditional insurance setup so that we know what we can plan on. It's not so variable in terms of what we're going to pay out of pocket. And in this case, the best laid plans worked out pretty wonderfully for us. It happened the way that we wanted to. We're so fortunate to have 2 healthy kids, to have pregnancies that were very, very smooth overall, to have births that were smooth overall. It was amazing. And in the meantime, I'm working in construction and I had a few little injuries here and there, but nothing serious to speak of. And construction is a very dangerous industry. So we were fortunate there to not have a big injury that we had to go treat me for. Then after a couple of years, we went back to the HSA again. We've been using that continually now. So that was kind of like the overall mentality that we used to set that up. Whether that works for you and your family and your life or not, that's got to be completely your decision because it's contingent on what you've got access to in terms of your insurance plans, what your work will do or won't do, if they're going to contribute to the HSA or not. And also if you're just willing to understand this enough and get comfortable with it enough to use it in your own life. But if you do not do the mistake that my wife and I are doing and that apparently millions of people are doing. Whenever we are using an HSA, we completely miss the opportunity here. We overlook the fact that we're using an HSA. We have this potential in our hand and we just drop it. The mistake that we make, that most of us make whenever using this, is similar to a mistake that I've heard a lot of people do in their other investing accounts too. It's not as common in your other investing accounts as it is in HSA, but people do it with their taxable brokerage, their IRA, their 401k, and it's so silly. We do the hardest work to set up the account, to earn the money to put in there, and we forget to do the easiest work on the back end once it's in there. The big thing that we forget to do, that 81% of people forget to do when they're using their HSA, is to actually invest the money. We stop at the name. We say, oh, it's a health savings account, and we just save the money. And so you put in, whatever, $3,000 per year in there. The end of the year rolls by, you've only got $3,000. Then the next year, you put another $3,000. Okay, you're up to $6,000. That's nice. But let's say you're young and you're healthy and you're planning on this money growing over time. You're completely missing out. Compound interest is not your friend here because you're not experiencing it whatsoever because you haven't invested the money. And little did I know that until like maybe 2 months ago, my wife and I had done the exact same thing. Somehow, whenever we set up the account years and years and years ago, we didn't opt into investing the money. And so we'd been dutifully saving into the account. My wife's company had been putting money into the account. And so the account balance was going up over time. We were saving more than we were using, which is nice. But we've completely missed out on years of investment growth. And it's been a tremendous time in the stock market the last 10 years or so. Just like hurts my soul a little bit to know that somehow we completely missed the boat on this. But I want you, if you're using this kind of account now, to go in there today and check it and make sure. Find your login, click that forgot password button or do whatever it takes you get logged into the account and make sure that you're actually investing the money. If you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. That's something else I didn't really point out. It's not like you're forced to invest the money in an HSA. If you're more comfortable having a nest egg that's just in savings that's slowly getting eaten by inflation, that's totally fine. You can do that. But one of the big benefits of this account is having the money invested. If you're investing other money, maybe you want to invest this money too. It's up to you. Check and make sure. 81% of us are not doing this. That's crazy. I didn't know it was that frequent. I thought maybe it'd be like 50%, 81%. So congratulations if you are one of the people that does invest your money. You're one of the 19% who's smart, who's set it up wisely, who's done the thing. You beat us to the punch. I'm glad about that. So overall, what are we thinking about HSAs here? What's the consensus? Well, I think there's a massive benefit to these if you don't have high medical costs, and if you can discipline yourself to save. Because the tricky thing about this is that you're not automatically saving money into it. You're paying the deductible to have access to the healthcare plan and to have access to the HSA, but you're not automatically putting any of that deductible. I think I said deductible. You're not automatically putting any of your premium, your monthly cost to have insurance. None of that is actually going into the HSA and saving up money for you. You've just opened the door. And so you've got to have enough discipline to say, we're going to do our insurance in kind of a new way here. And on top of that, we're going to deposit cash into it that then hopefully it doesn't stay cash. Hopefully you invest it. And we're going to figure out how to use it and how it works with our lives and our medical expenses and all that stuff. So it's not the absolute simplest option. But I think if you're willing to accept those two realities and figure it out, especially if you're young and healthy and you have a lot of time for that money to grow, my gosh, I think it makes all the sense in the world. If you've already got medical costs in your life that are fairly high, that are being held down because of the insurance plan you have, maybe you're already 75 years old, I don't think in those cases it makes sense to even really use this. I mean, you can if you want to. I'm not a medical advisor by any means, but I think the main benefit stands for people who have a long time to watch that money grow over time, because it could really turn into something that's very significant for your life if you have enough time for it to grow. But even for us, I'm not necessarily dead set on using the money that we've saved in it for retirement. Even if we use the account, we've saved money into it, we finally have invested it, and it grows over time, that's really nice, but we don't have to use it for retirement. There's a chance that in 10 years or 20 years, we have some big medical issue that pops up, God forbid. Even in that case, you still have this nice fat lump of invested money that you can draw from to pay for those expenses. Yeah, if I suddenly take up base jumping, I'll probably go back to a PPO. I may actually do more on-track driving, but I doubt I would get seriously injured from doing that, so we'll probably stay with an HSA for now. I just think that the problem I have with a traditional PPO style plan is that you're paying a high amount to get into it to then decrease your out-of-pocket costs right now this year. So you're like subsidizing your day-to-day costs because you're paying for this expensive plan, but your future self is really not benefiting much from doing that. The only way it could is if right now you're taking advantage of that plan and you're receiving preventative care right now and you're preventing future health issues. You're getting all your checkups, you're going to see your GP, you're doing all the things you're supposed to do, you're staying as healthy as you can, and you're receiving enough benefit from that PPO insurance plan to do that, then your future self will thank you. But otherwise, if you're not doing that stuff, I think an HSA takes advantage of your current healthy years to set up your financial future and your future self, healthy or not, much, much better. I don't have any kind of HSA company that's sponsoring this video or any particular affiliate relationship with anybody, but I'll just put some links in the description for you that I used to kind of do some research to make this video. So if you wanted to read further into the details of this or see what 2025 limits will be so you can actually do research and decide this for yourself, then those links will be in the description. The closest thing I do have to a sponsor is my own investing class that I made for you. It's about 3.5, 4 hours long, and it takes you from what in the world is investing, why would we want to do this, all the way through to the differences in investing accounts and the kind of things you can choose to invest in. And it walks you through that with your own personal journey taken in notes as you go. So for each class section, I made a little workbook that you can walk through and write down your own answer of why do you want to invest? What kind of investing account sounds best for you? What kind of investing in what kind of assets sounds best for you? And then even if you forget about the class in the future, or you don't want to come back and look at my face for another 4 hours, even though you do have lifetime access to the class, you can actually go through the workbook and say, oh yeah, I filled out those answers on a Google Sheets on my phone, or I printed it out and I wrote it out. Now I remember what I want to do. And I found that kind of like thinking through where you're at and goal setting today is a really valuable thing to then look back on 2, 3, 4 years from now, because there's a chance it's exactly the same and you have the same motivations, but there's also a chance you go, oh man, 4 years ago, I thought I wanted to invest in this way. Now I have a completely different idea about that. I should go in and change my money around, change my investments around. So I just wanted you to have that like lasting value from taking this course. I've taken online courses before where you're like, okay, that was cool, that was fine. But then 2 months later, you've forgotten most of what's in the course. I'm hoping having that take along workbook with you then helps you to retain the information that you gathered from the course and just adds more value for you. Predictably, there's also a link for that in the description if you want to check that out. And otherwise, the secret comment word for today is speed. This video wasn't particularly fast, but I like driving fast. I got to drive pretty fast on the Nürburgring like a week ago. That is a terrifying place. It's a racetrack in Germany. If you're not aware, it is terrifying, but speed is fun. Otherwise, thank you so much to the channel members for supporting me. They get access to the videos earlier than everyone else. They get access to behind the scenes videos and special members only videos that no one else gets to see. You guys rock. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.